Welcome back to the Lachey Johnson podcast. My name is Lachey Johnson, and today you're going to hear a little bit more about me. Now, if this is your first time watching or the first time you are listening, there are times where I do have other guests who will join me for the conversation. I also have a YouTube channel where I share my wellness update and a little bit of fun, a little bit of foolery just about my life. And so I just want to welcome you to those that are listening to me on Spotify, for those of you who are listening to me on Apple, or for maybe someone who kind of tripped over a short or YouTube or a Facebook post. Welcome. My name is Lachey. I'm so glad that you found me. Okay, so here we go. So today I'm going to share just a little bit of me because as I've been growing my community, I realize that there are people who are asking questions and wondering certain things about me. But more specifically, this month, the month of July, I'm going to be focusing on being a mama of a boy. Now, I do have two children, but today I'm going to be talking about my son because the next podcast that you hear is going to be from a good friend of mine who is the mom of two boys. And so this month we're talking about being boy moms. All right, here we go. So, one thing that people will often ask me is, where did I grow up? And did where I grew up have an effect or impact on my life? And I would say most certainly I am a Jersey girl. I've lived in a couple different counties within the state of New Jersey. And I would say that it varies depending on which part of the state you're living in. But oddly enough, most people think that I have a Southern drawl. Now, I'm not sure where they get that from because I am not from the South. I do have family who live in the South right now, and my grandparents live there as well. But I was not raised in the South. We used to go down to Carolinas every summer. As a matter of fact, I do still frequent the area. So that could be why people think I'm a Southern girl, although I like to be known as a Southern belle. But nevertheless, I was not born in South Carolina. I was not born in the South at all, but I spent a little bit of time down there. Now, how did it shape my life? So I mentioned that I am a Jersey girl, which is north. And then I talked about me being in the Carolinas in the summer. I do think that a part of me being in the Carolinas in the summer helped me to have a hunger to like live a much slower pace of life, which, now that I'm a woman of a certain age, I would say I'm enjoying that. I don't want to be in a rush anywhere. Anytime, any place. I want to enjoy the journey each and every day. I want to be as present as possible. So I think the South gave that to me. Now, when it comes to my Northern experience, I would say that in my younger years, I was very fast paced, very quick, always feeling like I was going 100 miles per hour. And that had its value because I think about a time when I actually finished my second graduate degree, gave birth to my second child, and bought my first home all in the same year. Yes, I feel the prayers coming my way, but I had the fervor, I had the commitment, I had the focus, I had the drive, and more importantly, I had the energy. And I think that the northern part of my raising gave me that fast-paced movement of getting things done. Whereas in the South, I think about sitting on the porch that's wrapped around the house with a glass of lemonade in a rocking chair. Yes, I said it, in a rocking chair. And so I do think that where I grew up does have a bit of an impact on who I am and how I live my life now. Another question that people will often ask me is like, what is my favorite pastime? And so I remember being a young girl in school and I love to read. I love to read chapter books. And most importantly, I was an academic student, or at least I felt that I was. I made the honor roll. And because of that, I was always invited to join the kids who were in older grades to be a part of their small group instruction, whether it be math, whether it be reading, and then sometimes even going on field trips with them because I had a sense of maturity that would allow me into those spaces. So my favorite pastime, even now, would be Barnes and Nobles. I'm telling you, I love that place. Even after the pandemic, I can go and sit and stack the books up. I have Audible on my phone right now, and I love to listen to audiobooks when I am driving and also when I'm moving my body, which is a part of my wellness journey. So I would say my favorite pastime would be books. And I am most currently reading something by Colleen Hoover. So I just finished It Ends With Us, which the movie is going to be coming out in a couple of weeks. And I plan to go see that with some girlfriends. And then I purchased the sequel to that, which is called It Starts With Us. So that's Colleen Hoover. Love to read it. It's on my nightstand right now. And then I also have another book that I plan to read probably in the fall. I'm traveling in October and in November, and it's Kennedy Ryan. She's a author that someone introduced to me as well. And so I don't know if you can see, for those who are watching the YouTube video, you can see that I do have a few books that are behind me right now. Last year I hosted a book club. Dr. Anita Phillips released a book that we have now read twice. I read it in a circle with one group, and then I paid it forward and read it in a circle of my friends. So that's the way that I like to spend my time. I like to read. I love to binge watch. I will go back and rewatch different shows. I'm currently watching This Is Us. And I'm in season 1, but I'm almost done. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So that's a little bit about me. I like it easy. I like it slow. When I was younger, I used to love to go swimming. I don't like the beach water, but I like the beach environment. So I'm a pool girl, but I used to love to swim, and it just brings me enjoyment. It's very relaxing, and it's a way of me escaping. I could get deep and talk about my devotional life, but I'm just sharing my favorite pastime, which is reading. Another question that people have asked me, or at least I've asked some of the people that have been on the podcast with me, is what is your favorite movie and what does that movie reveal about you? And I'm not going there today. I'm just not, because I'm going to invite you to go listen to some of the other podcasts, because believe it or not, several of the guests that I had on with me, we had a lot of movies that were in common, and they revealed more than I wanted to talk about. So I'm not even bringing that up. Let's just say Love Jones was a repeat one. Love and Basketball was a repeat one. Nights at Rodan was one. And you just got to go over and listen. You got to go back and listen to the podcast of some of the other guests that I've had, as well as maybe watch some of the YouTube videos where I talk about some of the movies that I've frequently liked. But I will share this with you. Grease, hands down, John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. I always wanted to be a pink lady. That was probably like my go-to, my favorite. All right, I'm probably dating myself. All right, back to what I was sharing with you. We are going to be spending this month talking about moms who have sons. And like I said, I have a daughter, but I also have a son, and my son is getting ready to leave for college, and I'm so, so thrilled for him. He has done a tremendous job. If you've been following me for any period of time, whether on Facebook or Instagram, or just listening to some of the things that I've been posting, I do talk about him way more than I talk about my daughter. Why? Because he's still in the house right now, and she's off living her best life. And she and I, we poke our heads in and out of our world, and I'm very proud of her as well. But we're talking about boys. So this young man is 18. He will soon be 19 years old, and he is the youngest, and he is the most kind, gentle, compassionate young man that anyone could ever want to meet. And I am a protector and defender of this young man. He has a brother from another relationship, and they have a great relationship. And I love that. He has an older brother, and they have a great relationship. And I love that, because he will reach out to him to talk to him about what the experience is going to be like for college, or what is it like when you're starting to date. Yes, I don't even want to think about that, but it's obvious. It's coming. It's going to happen. They're going to want to date. And so I love that he has his older brother to talk with. He has his father, he has his grandfather, he has uncles, he has all kind of men who are in his life. And I could not tell you how much value that is adding to him as someone who is living in a single household right now. To know that he has other men that he can look up to, that can help to guide and answer questions for him. So very grateful for that. During my pregnancy, I remember that I still had a lot of stamina and I still had a lot of strength. And I actually didn't start to really show until very late in my second trimester. And who knew that he would be almost like a butterball turkey child? The first thing that my mom noticed was the size of his feet. And yes, this young man is currently wearing a size 14. I'm glad that that finally slowed down because I could remember where he was almost skipping shoe sizes. So much so, I remember when we first went into Finish Line and I was standing in the middle of the store and literally, the guy had measured his feet and told us that he wore a size 8. Well, two things happened. I had a big gulp in my throat, and I thought, oh my God, where has the time gone? And then the second thing that happened was I realized that the cost of these shoes were getting ready to almost double. Yes, they were getting ready to double. This child was probably in fourth grade when that happened. So the feet, just big feet. The pregnancy was great, delivery was great. He was a sweet baby. I always remember praying that God would give him the wisdom of Solomon, and didn't give him those foreign women. Now I'm not going to go there, but nevertheless, pregnancy was really good. I enjoyed being pregnant with him. I had no morning sickness. The delivery, I think I did it in 2 or 3 pushes. And I remember the Eagles were playing that night, which happened to be his father's team, which I believe he says is his team as well. I don't know if his father coerced him into that, but nevertheless, the Eagles were playing that night. And I just remembered I wanted the room to be cleared so that I could focus and bear down and push. Now, that could probably preach, but that ain't why I'm on here today. I'm sharing what it's like to be a boy mom. So, aspirations for my son. I've always wanted my son to be honorable. I wanted him to be thoughtful, and I wanted him to find his passion. And I would say to him when he would leave out of the house, don't do anything that is going to grieve your mother or change the future that God has already determined is yours to have. Your future is secured in Christ. And so I would say that to him. And I'm watching this young man pursue his dreams. He wants to go on to do TV, journalism, broadcasting, sports broadcasting. And he was very specific about what school he wanted to attend. He was very specific about the program that he wanted to attend. And even in his junior and senior year, he was very intentional on how he would engage with his teachers. And so much so, by the time we got to his university choice, he left a very great impression on the person that was presenting, who happened to be the head of the department. So, aspirations, I'm bathing this young man in prayer, and I'm just believing that he is going to live the life that God said is his to have. So very excited about those things. What are some life lessons that I've taught him, and what are some life lessons that I've modeled for him? I think the biggest one is that we all make mistakes. Owning up to our mistakes quickly helps us to be able to recover even quicker. And apologizing, I said, forgive freely, love freely, being able to decide that the friendships or the family or whatever it is worth fighting for. And there's some things that the door just needs to be closed. I wanted my son to have a prayer life. And while, I don't beat him over the head with the Bible, this is a young man that attended a Kairos trip with his school his senior year. And the fruit of the spirit scripture left a very lasting impression on him. And it makes me think about a full circle moment that I had some 20, 30 years ago when I went on a retreat and I was a part of the display of that scripture. And the trait that I was given, or the fruit that I was given, was long suffering. And so I'm watching my son live out the seed that has been planted in him. I'm watching others that he and I and his family are allowing to be in his circle to water that seed. But more importantly, I'm watching God bring the increase in his life. And so the life lesson is keep God first, to stay humble, to be an honorable man, and to forgive and to love freely, and to acknowledge when you have made a mistake and move on and just do better. Because I heard someone say, not sure who it was, when you know better, you do better. So, what are some challenges in raising boys? For me, again, I have a daughter, and then I have him. I think the challenge is, not hovering. When it was time for him to start driving, I had the Life 360 app on. I had the Life 360 app on both of our phones, and at some point, it just started to make me more nervous to know that I can see all of his movements. But just knowing that he was safe. He's an African American young man, and in the world that we live in, knowing that when he is away from me, knowing that God is watching, and knowing that God is a cloud by day and a fire by night, and that the angels of the Lord are camped all around him. This is what my prayer is for my son. And so, the challenge is really knowing that God is with him, right? And I don't mean that it's a challenge that I don't believe that God is with them. It's knowing that God gave me the stewardship to raise this young man, but he's going to go out into a world that is not going to be kind to him the way that I have been in our home, a world that will, try to tear him down, a world that will have injustice. And it's really unfortunate, but we give it all to the Lord. And so that really has probably been one of my biggest challenges, is knowing that my son's going to go into a world and have to experience people that, are not believers, that are not faith-filled, that don't keep God first, and that will go out of their way to try to cause harm to him. And so we put our trust in God. And so with that being said, his response to me is that, Mom, God's got me. And so when he says that, that kind of like, it lets the air out, and then I could take a breath. I can take a breath. When I think about who is or has been very influential in his life, in my life as a parent, I would have to say, my aunt, who is no longer with us. I watched her raise my cousin, who is a female. But just the parenting style, I made tremendous sacrifices. And even to this day, I'm making sacrifices. And I told my father the other day, I would not change that. I wouldn't change any choice or decision that I made to help my son live the life that he is currently living. And so I would say those that have gone before me, that have left an imprint, that have had the influence over me, my aunt would be one person. My parents would be people that I would refer to. My pastor would be an example. The model that he has for his family would be an example. I've been very blessed, very fortunate that God has planted people in my life to be the parent that I am to him. And I will tell you, it has not been easy. The road has not been easy. And there are times that we hit these hiccups and these bumps, but I'm very grateful that the people that are surrounding me have been very influential with wisdom, with grace, and also with some mercy, because I do and will probably, right, make some missteps. And so I just love that love washes over all of that. When it comes to disciplining my son, I would say that in his earlier years, spare the rod, spoil the child. I think that's how the scripture goes. But Dr. Miles Monroe wrote a Kingdom Parenting book. If you don't know anything about it, you should definitely pick it up. Just a great, great resource. At least it has been for me, when it comes to discipline. And so I was always very clear about what I was disciplining, meaning communicating, and why I was disciplining. Maybe my son might have got, a voice raised, or, somebody said, I'm going to spank your bottom, but I would have to tell you that very early on, probably by the time he entered kindergarten, we just would sit down and talk, and that I would minister to his heart, because I knew that out of his heart, that expression of the way that he would live would flow. And so I'm very grateful that God showed me how to do that. And again, just bathing it in prayer. And I don't want to be over spiritual, but I bathed my parenting in prayer, and I said sorry a lot to him. I let him see, hey, I made a mistake. I should have done that differently. Why? Because he can learn what to do and what not to do as it relates to parenting. So I'm going to get ready to wrap this podcast up, because I can go on about who I am as a boy mom, but just a couple more things that I want to be able to share for the listening audience is, when it comes to activities and interests in video games and cell phones, I remember getting books. I remember sitting down and having conversational cards from Gary Chapman, just to engage, to get into his world. Right offhand, I can't think of this other book that we read a couple of years ago about teenagers, like frequently asked questions. I think Kara, I'm going to mess the name up, so I'm not even going to do it. Maybe I'll just link it in the show notes. But just having resources, knowing what questions to ask about gender and just all the things that were going on in the world, I kept him extremely active, not because wanted him to do what I didn't get to do. I don't even know if I would have wanted to do it, but he's always been active from a very little boy. Soccer, lacrosse, football camps with the New York Giants, basketball camps with the 76 Sixers, playing lacrosse, going to different events. Like I kept every summer, DJ camp. Like I kept him involved 12 months out of the year. There's only 12 months in a year. So he had after school programs. I opened up doors for different interests, whether he wanted to cook, which early on he talked about, wanting to be someone that opened up a bakery, culinary. I made sure he had different experiences, traveling. I could remember one time we were going or coming back from an international trip, and he was a young kid. He was paying attention to the signs. He was paying attention to what train direction we were going in. And as a young kid, he was helping me navigate the airport. So, exposing them, like having your TSA. Why? Because we don't want to stand in line. Having your own passport, because you're going to travel the world. You're going to enjoy the world. When it came to the cell phone, I think I could have done a better job, but give me some grace. For the most part, we tried not to have devices at the table while we were eating, when we were traveling together. But he did have a cell phone and there were some restrictions on it. I don't recall ever, maybe once or twice. Let me correct myself. Once or twice, I did have to address like the warning of clicking buttons and then people trying to scam and get access to our information. Oh my gosh, I think I talked too long. I hope you are enjoying this update from me as we are spending the month of July talking about boy moms. Like I said, the young man is on his way to college. He is not dating. He's just having a lot of friends. He's enjoying it. I am super, super, super thrilled and proud to be his mama. And I'm going to tell you, there's so much more to come because, like I said, I'm going to be connecting with a lady friend who is the mom of two boys. So I've got the balance of boy and girl, but I'm gonna be talking to a friend and you don't want to miss that. So if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'm asking you, please do. It encourages me. If you haven't checked out, if you're listening to me on Apple or Spotify, share it with a friend if you like the content that you're hearing. Put your notifications on. And I think it's really encouraging if you kind of like it for me or leave a comment, even better. I love to get into the comments and hear what you have to say. Now, don't troll and be mean, right? Don't do that. But I want you to leave some encouragement so that I can engage you. And more importantly, mark your calendar because every Monday at 12 o'clock, I release a new YouTube video, of which sometimes you get the full video of my podcast, and then you also get the full video of the podcast with me and a guest and some other really good stuff. So there's so much more to come. I want to thank you for listening to the Lashay Johnson podcast and stay tuned for the rest of the summer 2024 because I'm going to be talking to moms that have boys. All right. Until we see each other again, listen to each other again. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.